Okay, ductile littling of columns. This is our frame. Okay, and this is the story drift. Okay, uh, referring Annexure E, page 92 of IS 456-2000, code is given an stability index Q. If this index is found to be greater than 0.04, then the column has to be designed as a sway column. Okay. In our case, the index Q is found to be greater than 0.04. So we will have to design the column as sway column. Okay. So the first step is we have to find the equivalent length, okay, effective length, sorry, the effective length of the column. Okay, so we will do first try we will first find the effective length of the columns. Okay, so this is our frame. Okay, it's an exterior frame connected with interior frames. Okay, and this is our minor axis, this is our major axis. Okay, this is our major axis, this is our minor axis. Okay, so mi, the moment of inertia about major axis is bd cubed by 12. This is b, this is d. Moment of inertia about minor axis is db cubed by 12. Okay, and stiffness is given by mi divided by the length of the member. Okay, now this is a table. These are column numbers. This is width of column, this is depth of column, this is the axial load pu. Okay, axial load in each column. This is moment about bottom. Okay, say column number 1, this is column number 1, then this is the moment at bottom, so it is here. Negative sign means it is anti-clockwise. Moment at top, so moment over here. Positive sign means it's the moment is clockwise. Okay, okay, forgetting the sign, m2 is to be taken as the larger moment of this two. Okay, so 38 is larger greater than 26. So in this case m2 will be taken as, okay, m2 is taken as maximum moment of the column. M2 will be 38. Okay, over here m2 will be taken as 29. Over here m2 will be taken as 17.5. Over here m2 will be taken as 33. Okay, and so on, right? So now this table shows kt. Okay, and this is kb. Okay, in code this is denoted as beta 1 and this is denoted as beta 2. Okay, so you can refer to figure number 26 and 27. Okay, 26, figure number 26 is for column with no sway, and figure number 27 is for the column with sway. Okay, so we will have to refer figure number 27, that is column with sway. Okay, so we have to find kt about major axis and minor axis. Similarly, kb about my major axis and minor axis. Okay, so what is kt and what is kb? Okay, so this is the formula given over here for finding kt and kb. Okay, this is for column with sway. Okay, that is unbraced columns, right? Now say suppose we want to find kt and kb. This is the considered column, say column number 8. Okay, then kt is the stiffness of the top joint and kb is the stiffness of the bottom joint, right? So let us find the stiffness of the top joint first. Then k is stiffness of the considered column, ku is the stiffness of the column above the considered column. Okay, and kbt, sum of kbt is the stiffness of the beams falling at the top joint, right? That is to be multiplied by 1.5, right? Similarly, kb, over here k is the stiffness of the considered column, kcb is the stiffness of the column below the considered column, and sigma kbb is the stiffness of the beam falling at the bottom joint, right? So this is how we find the kt and kb over here, right? So let us try to understand that how do we get kt and kb for c1. This is c1, right? So for c1 we are first taking the major axis, right? Okay, so for major axis, moment of inertia is bd cubed by 12. Okay, the moment of inertia for this column will be bd cubed by 12 and stiffness will be mi divided by L. Okay, so KT, this is top joint, this is bottom joint. We are finding stiffness. KT means stiffness at this joint, right? So K is the stiffness of this column. Ku is the stiffness of the column above the considered column. And sigma KBT, over here there is only one beam. There is no beam this side. So you have to take the stiffness of this beam, okay, into 1.5. So this is how you get KT about major axis, right? Similarly, KB over here at bottom joint, K is the stiffness of the column. KCB, there is no column below, so 0. KBB, there are no column at the bottom joint, so this is 0. So K divided by K is equal to 1. So this is how we get 1, right? Okay. Now about minor axis. So in minor axis, now you have to take this beam, okay? The beam parallel to this over here, right? Which falls on this joint, okay? So now your moment of inertia will become dB cubed by 12, okay? Same symbol, K stiffness of this column, Ku stiffness of this column, and KBT, that is a beam falling on this joint, okay? There is no joint, no beam over here. There is only one beam falling on this joint, okay? So you have to take the stiffness of that one beam over here into 1.5, okay? So this is how we get KT, that is equal to 0.327. Similarly, KB, okay? KB stiffness of this column, KCB, no column is there below, so 0. KBB, there is no column on this joint, there is no beam on this joint, so it will be 0, right? So it will be K divided by K, and that is equal to 1. So this is how you find KT about major axis and minor axis, KB about major axis and minor axis. Now how to find the effective length LEX about major axis and effective length LEY about minor axis, okay? For that we have to refer the graph, okay? So our column is which way, so we'll see figure number 27. Figure number 27 is something like this, okay? All this graph, each coordinate refers us to LE by L. LE is the effective length, L is the unsupported length. So whatever coordinate we get from the graph, okay, then that is to multiply it by unsupported length. So LE is equal to unsupported length into the coordinate will give us the effective length, right? So let us take first the major axis. KT is 0.768 and KB is 1, right? So okay, KB is 1, okay, and KT is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 over here somewhere, 0.768, okay. When you see like this, then this turns out to be 3.5, okay. So I have taken 3.5 into unsupported length. What is unsupported length? Okay, unsupported length for floor 1 2 3 is the height of the floor minus the lowest depth of the beam, okay. The lowest depth is 0.525 meters, so that is unsupported length. Shallowest beam, not lowest, sorry, shallowest beam, depth of the shallowest beam you have to take over here. So our all beams are 5 to 5 mm depth, okay. So 3 meters minus 0.525 mm, 0.525 meters, that is equal to 2.475 meters. So coordinate into the unsupported length, that gives us the effective length, that is 8.66. This is the effective length about major axis, right? Now similarly about minor axis, okay, KT is 0.327 and KB is 1, okay. Okay, 3.327, 1 2 and 3, right? So it is somewhere over here. You take this over here, then this turns out to be 2.25, okay. Okay, so 2.25 is the coordinate into unsupported length, okay. So that is equal to 5.6. So this is the effective length about the minor axis. Now about major axis, you have to divide LEX divided by D, that is our D is 600, and that ratio is found to be greater than 12, so it is slender in that direction. And this has to be divided by B, that is 230, okay, and that ratio is also found to be greater than 12, so it is all slender in that direction also, right? So the column is found to be slender in both the axes. All the columns are found to be slender, okay. Now once we know that the columns are slender, so the next step is we have to find the additional moment due to the slenderness, okay. So we have to find the p delta moment, right? So that is the next thing which we will go look at, okay. Now we know E minimum is equal to L divided by 500 plus D divided by 30. This is for major axis, okay, where L is the unsupported length, okay. Now this is the formula given in the code. Additional moment about major axis, okay. In this you have to take LEX and D, right? And this is KX. K has to be less than or equal to 1, okay. It cannot be greater than 1, right? MA, there is additional moment about minor axis, is given by this formula. Here you have to take LEY, okay, and B, right? Over here you have to take KY, and K has to be less than or equal to 1, okay. Now K is found by this formula: PUZ minus PU divided by PUZ minus PB. PUZ is the maximum ultimate compression force that the column section can carry, which can be found by this formula, where AS is taken as 2.5%. We are assuming the steel to be 2.5% in each column section, okay. So AS we can find from this percentage, right? Now PU is the actual design actual force coming in each column, and PB is the balanced load, right? So balanced load about major axis, PB will be PBX, and about minor axis it will be PBY. So you can find PBX and PBY by this formula, that is K1 plus K2 into PT divided by FCK into B into D. We just have to find K1 and K2, which we can find from table 60 of SP16, right? In this case, B is 230 mm and D at first and second floor is 600, third and fourth floor is 525 mm, and at fifth floor it is 450 mm, right? Over here, D is going to be 230 mm, B for first and second floor is equal to 600, third and fourth 525, and fifth floor it is 450, okay. D dash is the effective cover, we are considering as 50 mm, okay. So we can find x1, K1 and K2 from this table, okay. This is the table 60, okay. Ours is a rectangular section, so K1 can be found from this for the ratio of D dash by D, and K2 is found from this table. Depends upon how the reinforcement is distributed, okay. And this is for reinforcement distributed equally on two sides, and this is on table for the reinforcement distributed equally on four sides, okay. So our is not exactly four side, but we will consider four side, right? So for that, for different grade of steel, the values of K2 is given over here, right? So you can find K1 and K2 from this table, and you can find PBX and PBY easily, okay. So this is table, column number, width of beam, width of column, depth of column, actual load in column. This is design actual. These are the actual forces which we got from analysis, okay. LEX and LEY we found over here, okay. This same table I have kept over here, okay. LEX and LEY. PBX we can find from this formula, okay. PBY we can find from this formula. PUZ we can find from this formula, okay. Now KX can be found from this formula. If you are finding KX, then put PBX over here, so you get KX. If you are finding KY, then put PBY over here, okay, and you will get KY. So this is how you get KY, okay. Now once you know everything, okay, put these values in these formulas, you get MAX and MAY. max is the additional moment about the major axis, and this is additional moment about the minor axis. Okay, so this is how we found the moments about additional moments about major and minor axis. Now this moment has to be added to the design moment, okay, because the column is this way, it is unbraced. Okay, so we have to add it with m2. M2 is the larger moment on the column. Okay, now over here again, ex minimum, that is about major axis, the minimum eccentricity is given by this formula, and this minimum eccentricity should not be less than 20 mm. Ey minimum should not be less than 20 mm. Okay, so if it is found in less than 20 mm, then you have to take 20 mm, right? Okay, so column number, width of column, depth of column, axial load in column, ex is found from this formula, that is about major axis. Okay, and this is the minimum moment which we have to consider. Okay, pu into ex, this is pu, right? If your design moment is found to be less than this, then you have to at least take this moment, right? Okay, now E phi is found by this formula. This is pu into Ey. M2 is the larger moment. Okay, okay, so let us see this table. Okay, in column number 1, the moment at the bottom is 38.22 and moment at top is 26.14. So the larger moment is 38. Okay, 38.22, so our M2 will be 38.22. Okay, so that is how this table has been found. Okay, larger moment, M2 are the larger moments, right? So the total design moment about the major axis will be M2 plus MA additional about major axis. This plus this is equal to this. This is how we get this table, right? Similarly, total design moment about minor axis will be A plus B. Okay, so this is B, that is additional moment about minor axis, and this is A, that is the design moment, the minimum moment which we are taking about the minor axis, right? So this is how we get the total design moment which for which the column has to be designed. We can see that we are having all the cases are of an axial load with a biaxial moment, so we will have to do the biaxial analysis for the column. Okay, now total design moment M, which we find over here, has to be equal to MA plus MA2, which we have done, and this should be greater than PU into E minimum. Okay, minimum, this should be greater than minimum moment, right? Okay, now column number 1, 2, 6, 7, 11 and 12. Okay, uh, this column size is 600 by 230 mm. Okay, and we have taken 2.5% steel, which turns out to be 6 number of 25 mm plus 2 number of 20 mm bars, 6 number of 25 and 2 number of 20 mm. Column number 3, 4, 8, 9, 13, 14. Okay, this is 525 by 230. Number of bars is 625 plus 212. Okay, 625 plus 212. Okay, now this is 450 by 230, that is column number 5, 10 and 15. Number of bar is 425 and 220. 425 plus 220. Okay, so we have to do the biaxial analysis. Okay, so for column 1, the result is found to be using Bresler's formula. The ratio is found to be 0.64, which is less than 1, so it is safe. For column 2, the ratio is found to be 0.27, which is less than 1, safe. For column 6, ratio is found to be 0.98, but you have to use M30 grade concrete. Okay, because in M25 the column was failing, right? So for column 7, ratio is less than 1, column 11 ratio is less than 1, column 12 ratio is less than 1. Okay, so we see that all the columns the ratio is found to be less than 1. Okay, so this is how we found the longitudinal steel for the column, right? Okay, one note I will like to make over here, that this column is can be called as uneconomical section. Okay, the ratio should be near to 0.99, so you can reduce the steel over here, right? So I made a note over here. We can reduce the percentage of steel in above many sections and get our ratio very near to 0.99, which will lead us to an economical design. Over here, for the sake of understanding, we have taken the percentage of steel as 2.5 for all the column sections. Okay, you can vary the percentage of steel and get an economical section, right? Now, this is how we completed that how do we find the longitudinal steel required in column. Now coming to the shear section. Okay, means how to provide ties in case of columns, right? The minimum dimension of column shall not be less than first 20 diameter dB. dB is the diameter of largest longitudinal reinforcement bar in beam passing through or anchoring into the column at the joint, or 300 mm. Okay, greater of this two. Okay, so this is shown in the figure. Okay, the largest diameter used in beam, that is of size 525 mm, that's 230 by 525 mm, is 25 mm, sir. So 20 into 25 is 500, and for that, in that case, we have provided the width of the column as 600 and 525 mm, which is greater than 500 mm, so it is okay. Okay, in beam 24 and 25, the largest diameter of the bar in beam provided is 16 mm, so 20 into 16 is 320, whereas the provided width of the column is 450, so it is okay, right? The ratio of the shorter dimension to the larger dimension of the column should not be less than 0.4. So let us see. For 230 by 600, the ratio is 0.383, which is slightly less than 0.4. Okay, so actually the required width is 240, but we will provide 250. Okay, so we are changing this width. Don't worry, by changing this width, nothing much will change in the result of the analysis. Okay, so now we will take the 600 columns, the columns with 600 depth, we will take the width equal to 250 mm. Okay, now for column size 230 by 525, ratio is 0.438, greater than 0.4, so okay. For column size 230 by 450, the ratio is 0.511, so greater than 0.4, so okay, right? Now remember, in this category, those having a factor axial stress which is greater than 0.08 FCK under the effect of seismic forces. Okay, so maximum force required is equal to area of column section, gross section, into 0.08 FCK. Okay, what does this clause mean? Okay, the axial force in the column should be greater than this force. Okay, if it is found then less than this force, then that member has to be designed as a flexure member and not as a column. Okay, so over here we will see this is a column number. Now this is the width of the column, this is the depth of the column, this into 0.08 FCK is the force. Okay, is a force, right? Now this is the PU, force, actual design force. This has to be greater than this. Okay, if over here we can see this is greater than this is A, right? So this is greater than A, so it will be designed as a column member. This is this is greater than A, so it will be designed as a column member. But over here we can see this is less than this, so this has to be designed as a flexure member. Okay, column 4 has to be designed as a flexure member. Column 5 has to be designed as a flexure member, right? Similarly, column 10 has to be designed as a flexure member, and 14 and 15 has also to be designed as a flexure member, right? So this is how we bifurcate or differentiate that how the member has to be designed. Okay, fine. Now coming to the check for the shear force in column. Okay, so this is a joint, say joint A. This is the beam falling on this joint, and these are the column. Okay, so this is the moment of resistance due to column due to the beam at left, moment of resistance due to the beam at right. Okay, so MUR plus MUR, okay, into 1.4 divided by H. Okay, that will give us V. This is V and this is V. This is H. This is story height by 2. This is story height by 2. This is H, right? So we will make a table over here, right? Let us find the shear force V at a joint A in the figure below and find the spacing of stirrups, or you can say ties, required in the middle portion of the column. Okay, now we are finding the shear force at the mid span of the column. Okay, so this is our standard detail, right? L0, this is the area where the confining reinforcement will be provided. Okay, and the area in between this, okay, to confining reinforcement area, we will provide the ties spacing as we are trying to find now. Okay, okay, now, so this is the joint. Okay, this is our H, that is 3 meters, right? This is member number, that is beam number 18. This is beam number 19. Okay, taking joint A, so the steel over here, okay, tensile steel over here is 1207 mm square, and the steel in this beam is 1207 mm square. So once you know the steel, okay, you can find X by this formula, and you can find MUR using this formula. So the moment of resistance from the left beam is found to be 172 kilonewton meter. Similarly, from the right beam is found to be 172 kilonewton meter. Okay, height is 3 meters. Okay, so you know everything. You can put this in this formula and you can find V. Okay, so V is found to be 160. Okay, so V over here is 160, V over here is 160, right? So we have to now find the spacing of ties for this shear force, right? That is in the middle portion. Okay, the percentage of steel in column 8 and 7 is assumed to be 2.5%. Okay, now assuming 50% of the steel is under tension. Okay, so we are assuming that the out of total percentage, 50% of the steel is under tension. So PT under tension we are taking as 1.25, right? So from table 19 IS 456 2000 for PT 1.25 M25 grade concrete, tau C is found to be 0.7, right? Now in column we have axial force, right? This axial force will definitely increase the permissible shear stress of the concrete. So our formula will become tau C is equal to tau C into delta. Delta is equal to 1 plus 3 into Pu divided by Ag FCK. Pu is the design load. We are taking column number 7. Okay, axial load. Okay, axial load. This is the axial load Pu for column number 7. It is 893.73. Okay, so that is what we are taking over here. Okay, 893.73. So from this we get delta is equal to 1.715. Okay, this into tau C, okay, that is equal to 1.2 Newton per mm square. So this is our permissible shear stress. Now we have to find the nominal shear stress tau B divided by BD. We found V as 160 kilonewton, so that is found to be now 1.163, which is less than tau C. Okay, tau C is 1.2. Okay, so as tau is less than tau C, so we will provide minimum shear reinforcement. That is, you can say tie spacing as per IS 13920-2016. Okay, so we will provide 8 mm dia ties about spacing equal to least dimension divided by 2. Okay, so when the width is 250, you will provide 125 mm. Okay, and the width is, when the width is 230, you will provide 115 mm, right? Now of course I have written 150 mm over here, less than 150 mm over here, because whenever the column longitudinal steel are spliced, okay, in that region the tie spacing should not be greater than 150 mm. Okay, our is 125 mm, so it is less than 150, so it's okay. Okay, so this is the spacing of tie. Okay, spacing of 8 mm diameter ties in middle between the confining reinforcement, right? This is for column members. Now we found that C4, C5, and C10 and C14, 15 are flexure members. Okay, so in case of flexure member, we have to take we have to provide this spacing of ties between the distance. Uh, Let me show in the figure. Just a minute. Okay, okay. So this is for beam. This is the criteria for beam. So this is the middle portion in case of that column which we are designing as flexure member, that is leaving 2D from left and 2D from right. Okay. So please make your mind clear. Okay. So we will be providing the spacing of ties in that portion when the beam is when the member is designed as a flexure member, right? So okay, over here, right? So in this case I have written over in middle between the 2D length from the either side of the column. Okay, so I think I have made my point clear. So this is how we found the spacing of ties in the middle portion, that is this portion, right? This portion. Okay, okay. Now we will come to the point for finding the confining reinforcement. Okay, special confining reinforcement shall be provided over a length of L0, where L0 is larger lateral dimension, that is D, okay, or 1/6 of the clear span of the member, or 450 mm, okay, larger of these two, okay, we have to take greater of these two. So I have made a table over here, okay, this is column number, okay, and these are the column size. Length of confining reinforcement where the confining reinforcement has to provide L0, right? L0 has to be larger of D, clear height divided by 6 or 450. So this is what L0 is to be found. Okay, okay. Now please remember column 4, 5, 10, 14, 15 are to be taken as flexure member. So in that case we have to take this as 2 times the effective depth. Okay, as we saw in the uh, figure just now. Okay, so this is something to be understood, right? Otherwise you have to provide for the L0. Okay, okay. Now the next step is the spacing should not be more than 1/4 of the minimum member dimension, that is B divided by 4, okay, 6 times the diameter of the smallest longitudinal reinforcement, okay, or 100 mm. Okay, so this is the table for spacing. Okay, the spacing of ties should be least of this B by 4, 6 times the smallest dia, or 100 mm. So this is how we found the spacing, right? Now AG is the cross area, this into this. Okay, okay. AK is the area inside the confining reinforcement. Okay, so that is area which is shown in this table, right? So the area of confining reinforcement, that is ASH, right, has to be maximum out of this two. Okay, so SV is the spacing over here. Okay, H is height 3 meters, AG you know, AK you know. Okay, everything is known to us. So we find ASH in this table using this formulas. Okay, the maximum ASH which we get from out of this two formula has to be taken over here, right? Once you know ASH, so now you can decide that which diameter of bar you will use for the ties in the confining area. Okay, so this over here the area required is 94.25 mm square. So we will provide 12 mm a bar as tie, okay, whose area is 113 mm square, greater than 94.25. So okay, right? Okay, now as we are providing more area ASH, okay, so we can revise the spacing. Simple. Put ASH is equal to 113 and get new spacing. So this is the new spacing which we get, right? So this is the spacing of ties that is to be provided, confining reinforcement to be provided over here and here, right? So this confining reinforcement have to be continued in the footing also, right? So the videos and the PDF which we you are seeing now is uploaded on website mmsprogramcivil.com. You can also go through this website and watch these videos over there. Okay, and at present we have just considered this one load combination, but actually have to consider all this load combination, and then you have to make an envelope of maximum twisting moment, bending moment, shear force and axial force for which the design has to be carried out. Okay, so I hope you must have found this video useful. Thank you.